Dolly Parton is gone. The woman whose voice, songwriting, humor, and unmistakable personality made her one of the most recognizable entertainers on earth has died at the age of 80. Her family announced her death on August 25th, 2026, and her publicist said she died peacefully in Nashville, Tennessee. But before we talk about her legacy, there is one question millions of people are asking. Did Dolly Parton really pass away? And what was her cause of death? Yes, sadly, Dolly Parton has died. Her nephew Brian Seaver announced the news on behalf of the family. However, an official cause of death has not been released. That distinction is extremely important because there are already rumors circulating online. At this point, it would be inaccurate to claim that she died from a particular disease, heart attack, cancer, or any other specific condition. The verified information is that she died peacefully at 80, while her family has not disclosed a medical cause. And what makes this loss especially emotional is that Dolly had recently acknowledged that she was dealing with health problems. Just days before her death, she spoke about still wanting to accomplish more. She had experienced health setbacks and had previously postponed and ultimately canceled a planned Las Vegas residency. Yet she continued talking about future projects and remained determined to work. If you appreciate respectful celebrity biographies and news analysis, make sure you subscribe to the channel, because we cover the lives, careers, and legacies behind the headlines. Now let's go back to where Dolly's extraordinary story began. Dolly Rebecca Parton was born on January 19, 1946, in rural East Tennessee. She was one of 12 children raised in a poor family in the Great Smoky Mountains. Her childhood was dramatically different from the glamorous life she would eventually lead. Her family lived in a small cabin, without many of the basic comforts that people take for granted today. But poverty did not stop Dolly from dreaming. Music was part of her family environment from an early age, and Dolly began writing songs when she was still a child. Her talent became obvious remarkably early. By her teenage years, she was already performing professionally, and at just 13, she appeared at the Grand Ole Opry. After graduating from high school, Dolly moved to Nashville to pursue music. That decision became the beginning of one of the greatest careers in American entertainment. She eventually became associated with Porter Wagoner, whose television program gave her a major national platform. Their professional partnership helped introduce Dolly to a much larger audience. But Dolly eventually knew she needed to build a career on her own terms. And that decision produced one of the most important songs in music history, I Will Always Love You. Dolly wrote the song in 1973 as she prepared to leave Wagoner's show. It became a country hit for Dolly, but its story didn't end there. Whitney Houston's unforgettable 1992 version transformed the song into a global phenomenon and introduced Dolly's songwriting to another generation. Dolly's decision to retain ownership of her publishing proved to be one of the smartest business choices of her career. And that brings us to what I believe is one of the most impressive things about Dolly Parton. She wasn't simply talented. She understood the business. Behind the wigs, rhinestones, and jokes was an extraordinarily intelligent businesswoman who understood the value of songwriting rights, branding, and ownership. She built income from music publishing, records, acting, television, licensing, business ventures, and eventually Dollywood. That combination of creativity and business intelligence is a huge reason why Dolly remained relevant for more than 6 decades. Her biggest achievements are almost impossible to narrow down to one. She recorded iconic songs such as Jolene, Coat of Many Colors, 9 to 5, and I Will Always Love You. She sold more than 100 million records worldwide, won 11 Grammy Awards, and became a member of both the Country Music Hall of Fame and the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. But Dolly was never only a singer. She became a movie star through films including 9 to 5 and Steel Magnolias. She became a successful entrepreneur and helped transform a Tennessee theme park into Dollywood, one of the most recognizable attractions in the American South. And then there was her philanthropy. Through the Dollywood Foundation and Imagination Library, Dolly helped put millions upon millions of books into the hands of children. The program became one of the clearest examples of how she used her fame and wealth to create something that could outlive her. For me, that's one of the strongest parts of Dolly Parton's legacy. A hit song can eventually fade from the charts. A movie can eventually leave theaters. But giving a child a book can change the direction of that child's entire life. And Dolly understood that. Now, what about her personal life? Dolly married Carl Thomas Dean in 1966. Their marriage lasted almost 60 years, which is remarkable considering how intensely public Dolly's career became. Carl was famously private and rarely appeared alongside her at public events. He preferred life away from the spotlight, while Dolly became one of the biggest stars in the world. Sadly, Carl died in March 2025. His death was a major personal loss for Dolly, and she later spoke about how caring for him had affected her own health and well-being. And here's another detail many people may not know. Dolly Parton and Carl Dean did not have children. Dolly had spoken over the years about not becoming a mother, and about how her life might have been different if she had children. But she remained deeply involved with her extended family, and was also a godmother to Miley Cyrus. So when people ask about Dolly's children, the accurate answer is that she had no biological children of her own. Now let's talk about money. Dolly's net worth is not an officially confirmed number because private assets and businesses aren't valued publicly in the same way as a publicly traded company. Forbes estimated her fortune at about $450 million in its 2025 ranking of America's richest self-made women. Celebrity Net Worth has estimated her fortune at approximately $650 million in 2026. So rather than presenting one number as an unquestionable fact, it's more accurate to say that estimates place Dolly Parton's wealth in the hundreds of millions of dollars, with $450 million to $650 million being commonly cited estimates. And that wealth came from much more than singing. Her music catalog, songwriting royalties, Dollywood, acting, publishing, licensing, and other business interests all contributed to her fortune. Forbes has estimated the value of her catalog alone at around $120 million. But personally, I don't think Dolly Parton's greatest achievement was making hundreds of millions of dollars. It was turning a childhood that began in poverty into a life that inspired millions. She didn't hide where she came from. She turned it into music. She turned it into stories. She turned it into business. And eventually, she turned her success into philanthropy. That's why Dolly Parton's death feels bigger than the death of another famous singer. She represented something. She represented the idea that you could come from almost nothing and still build something enormous without forgetting the people and place that shaped you. Dolly Parton died on August 25, 2026, at age 80. Her official cause of death has not been disclosed, and we should be careful not to turn speculation into fact. What we do know is that she leaves behind one of the most extraordinary legacies in modern entertainment. She leaves behind thousands of songs, generations of fans, unforgettable movies, Dollywood, an enormous philanthropic legacy, and a body of work that will continue long after the headlines about her death disappear. And perhaps the most fitting thing about Dolly is that she spent her life writing songs about love, heartbreak, hope, struggle, and resilience. Now, the world is listening to those songs differently. Dolly Parton may be gone, but her voice is not going anywhere. Rest in peace, Dolly. And as the title of one of her most famous songs reminds us, we will always love you.